A grateful Joe Mixon finally addresses the media, while the backup battle at quarterback still remains very much up in the air. Mike Petraglia outside Paycor Stadium here on a very hot, hazy, and very humid afternoon on Monday. The Bengals were back in full pads practicing before their off day on Tuesday. They'll have two more practices Wednesday and Thursday before Saturday's preseason finale in Landover, Maryland against the Washington Commanders. But the big news of the day really occurred after practice. Joe Mixon, who had a squabble with some reporters on Sunday after practice, did address the media here on Monday afternoon. And what he had to say in about 11 and a half minute session with reporters really told you where his mind was with the Bengals this offseason. It was about putting everything in the offseason in the past, dealing with it both legally and contractually, and then getting back on the practice field and ready to take on this 2023 season with the Bengals, a season he mentioned several times in comments to us will be his seventh with the Bengals. That is something he is very proud of. Why did he take the pay contract restructure? Why did he take the pay cut? Well, simply put, when I asked them that question here on Monday afternoon, it was to stay with a team that has a very definitive Super Bowl window in the next couple of years. Obviously, Joe Burrow is a very big part of that, and Joe Mixon wants to be part of that as well. What about Chase Brown, the rookie they drafted out of Illinois? Well, Joe Mixon says he has a very good relationship, not only with Chase Brown, because he's asking all the right questions, but a guy like Chris Evans in his third year out of Michigan. Both of them kind of joke around with Joe Mixon and call him in practice OG or Unc for Uncle Joe Mixon, somebody that they look up to as somebody who can provide leadership on the team and certainly in the running back room as the veteran of that group. So Joe Mixon is not sounding at all threatened in terms of the Bengals bringing in young blood to try and refresh that room with Samaje Perine now in Denver. Obviously, Travion Williams, he was back at practice here on Monday afternoon, but again, not in pads. He was just wearing his uniform as he goes through some final rehab on his right ankle before he gets fully cleared to practice. And what about Joe Mixon and the legal issues and dealing with everything he's had to deal with? I asked Mixon after practice here on Monday. He has always played with a great deal of passion. How has he used that passion to kind of fuel him through what has been a tumultuous offseason by his own admission? And he said, that's because my ultimate goal is to retire with the Bengals. Play well this season, play well next season, and hopefully if everything goes, in his words, up to the standards that I'm capable of playing to, as I should, then he really believes he can finish his career with the Cincinnati Bengals. And obviously he hopes that includes one or two or multiple Vince Lombardi trophies in the case for the team. But we'll have to see what happens in terms of what Joe Mixon does in the last couple of weeks of camp. He obviously will not play in the preseason finale on Saturday against the Washington Commanders, but he has been back on the practice field the last couple of days. What about the backup quarterback battle? Zach Taylor, the head coach here before practice on Monday, said it's very much up in the air. He's not going to go as far as giving Jake Browning and Trevor Siemian alternating series. He's not going to go that far, but he is still evaluating the position with quarterbacks coach Dan Pitcher and, of course, offensive coordinator Brian Callahan. There was a lot to go over. They both did some good things, according to Zach Taylor, in the tie game on Friday night in Atlanta. Jake Browning, of course, stood out. He stood out a couple of times here on Monday afternoon, throwing a deep 50-yard touchdown pass down the right sideline to Jamar Chase, but he was also intercepted a couple of times by Jalen Davis. The backup nickel to Mike Hilton had a great practice here on Monday afternoon, really being active, really being a ball hawk. Towards the end of practice, he undercut and cut up a route of Charlie Jones right at the goal line in red zone drill, jumped the route, I should say, and was off for what would have been a pick six in practice. So Jalen Davis really stuck out. Jamar Chase made a really nice catch from Browning towards the end of practice, right at the pylon, but Darren Simmons, serving as the side judge, marked it just about a half yard short. A couple of plays later, it was Logan Wilson with the one-handed pick with his left hand leaping in the air in front of Joe Mixon in the end zone on a pass from Jake Browning, and he picked off the pass in the end zone. So just like they did on Friday night against the Atlanta Falcons, the Bengals defense looking very ball hawkish in the red zone, and that is, of course, something Lou Anarumo actually wants to see in games come the regular season, which, of course, starts September 10th in Cleveland. We saw Myles Murphy back at practice. He got some reps with the first team and also on the second team unit, giving some good push into backup right tackle Jackson Carman here on Monday afternoon. So Myles Murphy was back at practice. Not at practice, B.J. Hill. He was out. He is dealing with a minor lower body issue. DJ Turner did not suit up here on Monday afternoon, but Chido Awuzie did, and he finally got in 11 on 11s after being held to just 7 on 7s on Sunday. So Chido Awuzie alternating defensive reps at the start of 11 on 11s Monday here in downtown Cincinnati. That was big news for the Bengals. Okay, the Bengals have the day off on Tuesday, practice Wednesday and Thursday. They leave for Washington on Friday and the game on Saturday. We'll have you covered on Twitter at Trags, Trags, online, clnsmedia.com. And as always, subscribe to my YouTube page, youtube.com/@Jungle Roar Pod, all one word. Outside Paycor Stadium, Mike Petraglia, CLNS Media.